another human being for 17 years.
Yeah, literally.
That's right. At 27, Francis decided to stop talking, period. And he stuck with that decision until he was 44 years old.
There were about 4 times when, by accident, I did speak. When I bumped into someone at the grocery store and I said, "Excuse me," and I went.
He spent those quiet years hiking, camping, and making art. He says he didn't really miss conversation. It wasn't working for him anyway.
I would listen just enough to think I knew what someone was going to say, and then I'd stop listening, which in effect cuts communication.
That feeling of being disconnected went hand in hand with something bigger, loneliness.
I think I was lonely before I started this, in the sense that I didn't want to be alone with myself. And that makes you lonely. The loneliest that I felt was when I was with someone, but I was still lonely.
Do you get lonely today?
I got a wife and 2 kids and...
You're now listening to a Bobby Johnson beat. Hey, my main bitch and my savage man, bitch. I get too far. Rather hold me up on each pink. I need to go.
Tune in to Too Much Media.
Wow, this man really... Oh, I always forget to intro these dang videos. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Happy to have you. Your one-stop, all-stop creative path channel where we discuss things of, just how to self-master, how to increase the probabilities for success, and discuss whatever we want to discuss at the time we want to discuss it. But to get into today's video, I'm going to be talking about this man who decided to stop speaking for 17 years. And I'm just like, wow, like this man literally got a chance to live my dream life. So basically this man, I guess, just sat around. Oh, maybe I can find an article about him. He just sat around and didn't speak for 17 years. His name is John Francis. And the reason I say he's living my dream life, because I've thought about this before, like in my head, where I'm like, oh, like I want to like one day decide and spend like an entire year silent. Like I've said that to myself randomly before. I've had that thought of like, I want to spend 1 year of my life entirely silent, just to kind of like, I think at the time that I had this thought process, I was just like, I feel like something like that could realign me in a time where I wasn't feeling aligned with what I wanted in my life. And I was just like, I feel like that would align me so much as far as just helping me understand what I do truly because I want to do versus what I do for the sake of what is discussed about what I do. And also, so I can reevaluate what I'm saying too, like why do I say the things that I say? What is my purpose and who are the best communicators? I feel like I would really be able to find out the key to communication by spending a year silent, by just observing how others communicate and what others do to hold attention or to decrease the chance of attention, or to like just all the small intricacies of what communication takes and what are the best tools for each type of communication you're trying to convey. I really do feel like spending some time in silence would really help me with that. And also, as someone who's quite like, good at expressing their opinions, I do feel as though there is space held for me to speak, which I feel if I took away maybe would make others value the opinions I give more. I also feel like, taking some time for that would be cool for me. Oh my gosh. Like, okay, so I'm looking it up. It says 22 years of walking, 17 years of silence. Planet Walker. He wrote a book about it. So I guess he also spent 22 years walking. Wow, this man is amazing. And he hasn't even only written one book. He's written one, two, three, four, five. He has multiple novels: Intentional Neuroplasty, The Long Grief Journey, The Ragged Edge of Silence, Human Kindness, Bicycling. Wow. John H. Francis the Third is an American environmentalist nicknamed the Planet Walker. Born in Philadelphia, the son of a West Indian immigrant. Okay, he's from the islands, man. He moved to Marin County, California. See, this is something a Californian would think to do. This makes perfect sense of why he said to himself, you know what? I'm going to just start walking around and not talking. I feel like Californians are so free-spirited. It's because it's windy in California. They're just like the wind. They just off with the wind. Anytime a breeze blows through their head or a thought blows through their mind, they might just catch that breeze and go. Californians are so like okay with anything. Anyway, but he was born in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. He has a bachelor's at Southern Oregon University and a master's at University of Montana and a PhD that he got in 1991 from University of Wisconsin. Wow. And his occupation isn't considered to be an environmentalist. So I'm assuming he makes his funds. Let's pocket watch for a second, guys. He makes his funds from all these books. After witnessing the devastation caused by the 1971 San Francisco Bay oil spill, he stopped riding in motorized vehicles, a vow that lasted 22 years, from 1972 all the way until 1994. Dang, so he got all those degrees on feet? This nigga a real stepper for real. Don't play with him. From 1973 until 1990, he also spent 17 years voluntarily silent. During this time, he studied for a PhD in land management and traveled extensively, walking across the entire width of the lower 48 states of the USA, as well as walking to South America. What? This guy is insane. He published his memoir, Planet Walker, How to Change the World One Step at a Time, and then republished as Planet Walker, 17 Years of Silence, 22 Years of Walking. Wow. Oh my God. And you know what's crazy? Even the part of like not using any motorized vehicles because you're so moved by the environmental impact that they have, considering you watched an oil spill. It's like we all feel emotionally moved during these like tragic events that happen. But like to be moved emotionally so far to the point where you completely restructure your entire life. Like I know, like for example, me, like if I'm emotionally charged about one of these things that happen, it's just like it becomes a thing where you start to realize just how much of your lifestyle you have to change in order to be an effect on this. And you just be like, oh yeah, well that's a bit much. Like, you know, it's just like sometimes I just feel so the word just left me. I had it. Where'd it go? I feel so fleeting. I don't know. I feel like my opinions and thoughts sometimes are so fleeting when I'm like incapable of like following through on an ideology to the point of restructuring my whole life. And then I'm like, okay, but really you want me to restructure my whole life? Like, but it becomes a thing where it's like, once you do restructure your whole life based off an ideology, you do realize how possible it is. Because this guy went on 22 years. I bet you restructuring his whole life back to not doing all these things was probably insane for him. Dang, I know he got more than 20,000 steps a day. On January 17, 1971, two oil tankers owned by Standard Oil Company and Arizona Standard and the Arizona Standard and Oregon Standard collided in San Francisco Bay, creating an enormous oil spill of 840,000 gallons. After seeing the damage caused, John Francis joked with a friend about never riding in a car again. See, yes, I would do that. I would see something happen like this and make that same joke. We're on the same page, John. joked with a friend about never riding in a car again. The following year, a neighbor of Francis's died suddenly. Faced with the new sense of uncertainty of life, Francis decided to act immediately and for the next 22 years refused to ride in motorized vehicles. Dang, so he even wouldn't ride in the vehicle if someone else was driving it? Like, see, that's another thing. Me, I probably, if I did actually move towards, like, I'm not driving anymore. It's like, but if I could hitch a ride, it's certain places you can't go without a car. Francis describes himself as having had an overinflated sense of self-importance at this time and says he initially expected other people to follow his example and also forego automobiles and other powered vehicles. Me. It's like, if I'm gonna do it, we're all gonna do it. He's born in 46 and this happened in 71. So he was 25. Yeah, that is the age where you would think something silly like that. 25 years old, young, thinking everyone got the legs you got. Like, right now at the age I'm at, yeah, I could walk around probably to most places I need to get to and be okay, like, physically. But, like, my grandmother, like, come on now. Like, my aunts and uncles and certain cousins and all these people, like, for me to expect all of them to also walk to where they need to get to every day, I just know that's not going to work. This is just not. As Francis traveled about on foot, people would sometimes stop to talk about what he was doing. And he often found himself arguing with them, as well as with friends and acquaintances about his decision to go on foot. See, this is why he went silent. Now everything makes sense. Now everything made sense. He talked himself into silence. He was like, y'all need to stop driving. Y'all need to stop driving. And I bet you everyone around him, once he finally was silent, was like, thank God. Because this Negro won't stop. I'm sorry. Okay. On his birthday in 1973, Francis decided to stop speaking as a gift to his community, to not argue for one day and instead listen to what others had to say. He found this so valuable that he continued to be silent the next day. This continued and he ended up not speaking for 17 years, with the exception of a phone call to his mother after 10 years of silence. During this time, he communicated by writing and gestures and also expressed himself by playing the banjo. He ended his vow of silence on Earth Day, wow, in 1990. The following day, while in Washington, D.C., he was struck by a car. He managed to convince the ambulance personnel to allow him to walk the hospital. Wait, hold on. Are you telling me that after spending 17 years silent, he continued to not ride cars after getting hit by a car? This guy's life is weird. Wait, what? This is crazy. I was not expecting. Oh my gosh, this is so funny. Okay, so you're telling me this guy stops finally, he finally decides to talk to everyone. We're like, okay, good. He's at least talking now. And the reason he stopped talking was because he stopped driving and only walked. So then once he finally spoke, he still walked. Why am I so entertained by this? I just find this really, really crazy. Like, this is someone who is so stuck on their guns you can do nothing but applaud them. See, people like this who are to the ends of their earth with their values, their principles, and what they decide for their life, no matter what you say, people respect these type of people. They might not like them. They might not treat them well. They might do every other negative thing they can to that person. But the one thing they can never, ever do is not respect someone like this. To not respect someone who gets hit by a car. I feel like that's low-key a sign from the universe. Like, a car hit you right after you started talking. Actually, no, I might walk too. Because the whole reason he stopped talking sorry, you know, like when your house creaks or whatever and you think like, you just like have to stop, like, what? And then you realize it's just house sounds. Okay. But the whole reason he stopped talking, which he did for 17 years, was because no one would stop driving, which was a stance he had, and he would argue with them about walking instead of driving. And then because he argued so much about that, he decides to stop talking and to listen to everyone else and see what they have to say while continuing his no driving journey. So he didn't talk, he didn't drive. Like, imagine it's just this silent guy who walks everywhere. And he said he's married with kids. How did he find a woman to marry him and never talk to her? He just would write her letters. I bet you he writes the most beautiful letters. That comment they made about his art, first of all, his art looks so dope. I can honestly see that being very, like, historically relevant in the future, his art pieces. And I imagine with spending so much time with your own thoughts, with your own, you know, like own systems, own ideas, what beautiful letters he wrote. Maybe that's how he got his wife. Maybe I'm romanticizing his life a bit now that I've read a couple bars about it, but I'm just like, this like sounds like such a movie. Like, this like sounds like so, I don't know, I'm just so interested. I'm like, wow. Like, while he was silent, Francis completed 2 college degrees and started a 3rd. Like, I can't imagine this being my father and me having to explain to people what type of man this is. Like, this is crazy. In 1971, Francis walked to Ashland, Oregon to enroll. He walked to Oregon from California. This man, oh my God, to enroll in the Southern Oregon University, where he completed a Bachelor of Science degree in 1981 with credit given for life experience. I'm sure, like, oh my, this man never talked to anyone through this entire time. Like, imagine, like, I don't know, as a professor, what I would think if I had a silent student. Like, my student refuses to talk. Who knows if he has a question? Who knows what his voice sounds like? And that must be so surreal, the times you do speak of like, oh shit, I have a voice. I think a lot of us would benefit from doing something like this. Taking some time off from talking and from driving. His walking premise of everyone needs to walk. Yeah, this is becoming a thing where everyone needs to walk for multiple reasons. It's about the oil in the car and in your arteries. We all need to take a few steps. Francis then contacted the University of Montana to apply to their graduate environmental studies master's program, letting them know he would not arrive for about 2 years. He needed to walk to Montana. During that time, he walked to the state of Washington, built a boat, and walked and sailed to Montana, where he completed his master's degree 2 years later. Oh my God, this is the real Forrest Gump. Do you see? This is the real story that they should have. This is crazy. Oh my God, I'm not even done. With little money, he audited classes, but professors tracked his grades. And when funds became available to pay for the class he had taken, they were put on his transcript for credit. Wow! As is common with graduate students, Francis taught classes while studying for his master's degree. Francis then walked to Wisconsin, where he earned a PhD in 1991 in land resources from the Nelson Institute of Environmental Studies at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. During his studies, the Exxon Valdez disaster occurred, which brought attention to his research on the effects of oil spills. After completing his degree, he walked to Washington, D.C. to assist the United States Coast Guard with their response to the disaster. Oh my God. I feel like I'm glazing at this point, but I feel like if somebody deserves that, it's this man. Like, this is crazy. Oh my God, look, there's a map of all his walking. Oh my God. Wow. I feel like I sound so silly because I'm like finding this out like in real time, like every single part of this. So I just like sound so, oh my God, oh my God. But it's like, this is actually so amazing to me. So he goes from California all the way up to Washington, crosses through Idaho, what the hell? Anyway, crosses through Idaho, hits Montana, studies there, and then he crosses through the rest. Oh my goodness. But at some point they said he also walked to South America. I'm like, what? What? And this just goes to show one thing I'm realizing that as I'm reading up on this gentleman here, I'm thinking to myself, this just shows that the rest of us are just making excuses. Like all the stuff we're saying of why we can or can't do things is an excuse. When you decide you want something, or when you decide that there's no other option than what you say is the answer or the option, you find a way no matter what. This man built a boat. This man built, listen to me, he built the boat before he sailed off. He walked to get everywhere for 22 years. Y'all wouldn't listen to him, so he refused to talk. That is an important lesson right there, though, too. As a creative, a lot of times we are always preaching to the choir about all these things and all these thoughts and ideas that we have. And you're gonna a lot of times feel like no one's listening to you, that you're talking into an abyss. And the reason is because you need to sometimes just learn to shut up. Be quiet. Stop talking to these people. Okay? Don't be so concerned with being heard that you don't actually produce, that you don't show what it will take for everyone to listen to you too. Because one thing about this man too is, regardless of him arguing with everyone, he was living by what he was arguing about. And when everyone was telling them him arguing with him about why they can't, he showed them why they can. So a lot of times as a creative, you have to take matters into your own hands. When someone tells you why things can't happen, you can't sit there and argue with them about why they can. You have to just do it in order to show them how you can. That everything they're saying right now is just a bunch of excuses. Because that's what most of us sit around doing anyway. That's what 90% of talking is. Us sitting around giving each other excuses about things. Like, this is like, oh my God, this was such an eye-opening story for me. I'm so glad I dug into this. This is crazy. In 1990, after finishing his degrees, Francis worked for the United States Coast Guard in Washington, D.C., where he wrote oil spill regulations following the Exxon Valdez disaster in Alaska. Francis received the U.S. Department of Transportation's Public Service Commendation in recognition of his efforts. In 1991, he was appointed United Nations Environmental Program Goodwill Ambassador to the world's grassroots communities. In 1994, Francis decided he could be more effective environmentalist if he began to use motorized transportation. Oh, that's why. So even the reason why he finally stopped walking had to do with his same values and cause. The only reason he stopped it was because it was directly would affect him furthering his cause. And the first thing he did for his cause was, instead of getting everyone else to walk, was walk so that so when he finally got to the point where he had to stop walking in order to continue going, you guys can't tell him anything. If he ever tells you, hey, we need y'all to all stop driving, we're going to have to all decide to walk, no one can tell him nothing about why they can't walk. All of y'all can walk. And you know what? I'm getting too passionate again. Hold on, let me relax. This is serious. All of us can walk. You know what the thing that annoys me the most is when I go to my apartment and I see people on the elevator who are going to the second floor, who are going to the third floor. Why are you taking the elevator as an able-bodied, under senior citizen aged person? Taking the elevator instead of the steps. Taking up room in this elevator. And personally, I only ride the elevator if I'm going to such a high level where it's unrealistic. That's one. Two, I'm not like from that area. Like, I don't know what's going on in your staircase. So I'm not just going into any staircase. Just because, I don't know, staircases are actually quite unruly, okay? The staircase it's a risky business taking the stairs sometimes, depending on where you are. But in this case, I'm talking about my own apartment building. So obviously, I only take the stairs. You know, if it's somewhere else, obviously, I might not take the stairs. I'll take the elevator just because it's the most obvious way to go through that I feel is safe for my well-being. But at my building, the only reason I'm taking the elevator is if I have too much stuff where it's unrealistic. How am I going to get up the stairs with this? And I actually live at a level where it makes sense for me to take the elevator. You should not be taking the elevator if you live, I would say, 4th floor and under. You need to take the steps. Even still, I feel like you should be able to get to certain other levels as long as you're like not too heavy. You don't have too many stuff. But at that point, you know, once you're over the 4th floor, it gets to a point where it's like, okay, well, I have bags, I have this, I might have that. Like, it might be unrealistic for you to take the steps, you know? But I either have too much stuff, I have something that rolls where it's wheeled, it can't go up and down the steps, or I'm too well dressed to take the steps. Those are my only reasons. You know, because sometimes you're not trying to sweat, you're not trying to, you know, do too much, or, you know, I'm not wearing the right shoes, all those womanly reasons. As a man, you should take the stairs every time. As a young man, how are you as a grown man in the elevator with me and my grandmother? Oh, that's another reason I might take the elevator. I'm with other people who can't take the steps. And it's just out of politeness for me to ride with them. So I don't leave them on the elevator alone. Because it's not that serious. You know. But if I'm alone and I'm headed to my crib, my thought, like, I don't even think about the elevator. And also time-wise, what you're going to realize when you take the elevator, when you take the steps, is you don't have to wait for the elevator. Like, that's time that you're wasting there, standing there. Because you say that you can't take the steps, do something as little as take the steps. You're going to waste a couple minutes or whatever time it takes to wait for the elevator, have the elevator open, take you up, wait for the elevator to open. Like, you're waiting all that time. Who knows how many people are on the elevator? You got to wait for their stops to stop off too if you're on the elevator. You hit the steps, you're directly to your destination. No middleman. It's just, I find it so ridiculous that we're so conditioned to be lazy that we look for any excuse to do it. It's crazy. It's crazy. Take the stairs. Stop it with the elevator all the time. And me seeing that this guy literally, well, I wonder if elevators was against his rule too. Where he was like, nope, not taking the elevator, taking the steps. That's a motorized, electrical being, mechanical thing. I'm not doing it. I wonder. I would love to be able to ask him that. That would be so interesting. But I'm like, this is showing me just how much, like, that's like a pet peeve of mine. Is seeing people on the elevator and they're going only a couple floors. And I'm just like, why wouldn't you take the steps? And that's why the steps are so unruly, where you can't just take the steps everywhere. If us as a society decided that steps were the automatic option for most people who are able-bodied, and elevators is just for certain special circumstances, such as disable-bodied and also heavy loads, then the steps would be safer. People would be smoking in the steps, peeing in steps. Oh my God, why every time you want to take the steps and the place is not a place to be taking the steps, the stairwell smells like pee. People don't pee in hallways. People pee in steps. And it's because enough people aren't passing through. You got time to pee. Anyway, let's get back on the subject. I feel like I've been on such a random tangent. But yeah, this guy literally walked everywhere. Oh my God. Francis decided he could have been more effective environmentalist if he began again to use motorized transportation. At the border of Venezuela and Brazil, he boarded a bus. Okay, nigga, you can't walk through all of South America. Okay. at the border of Venezuela. So he even walked to South America before he finally said, you know what? Because it gets to a point. It was at that moment he realized why they invented buses and cars all over again. He had a full circle moment right there. It's like, okay, yeah, it's not like we didn't have a real reason for creating these things. Like, I guess at some point or another, you're eventually gonna have to use it. But do you see how far you can get without it though, too? Boom. Another, like, mic drop moment. Look how far you can get without it, though. Even though of course, there gets to a point where you do need it. But this man got all the way to South America before having to call it quits. So the USA is walkable. Okay? Francis is a founder and program director of Planet Walk, a nonprofit environmental awareness organization. In 2005, he published Planet Walker, How to Change Your World One Step at a Time. Later republished by National Geographic Society as Planet Walker, 17 Years of Silence, 22 Years of Walking. In 2010, Francis also became the first ever National Geographic Society Education Fellow, and the National Geographic Society published his work, The Ragged Edge of Silence, Find Peace in a Noisy World. In 2009, he was in Australia walking the Great Ocean Road for a film being made by Tourism Victoria. Oh, cool. In 2011 to 12, Francis was visiting an associate professor at Nelson Institute for Environmental Studies at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. In 2022, Francis's children's book. Oh, wow, he made a kid's book. Human Kindness. I did see that one. True Stories of Compassion and Generosity That Changed the World. Illustrated by Josie Blogs. Was published by What on Earth Publishing. Francis is Moore Commissioner of West Cape May, New Jersey. As of 2022, he is currently planning on his final solo planet walk across the continent of Africa. That's so dope. He's going to walk across Africa. Mind you, I said he was born in 46. No, he was born in 71. So he's currently 54. Oh my God, he's the age of the amount of countries in Africa. Wow, that's cool. Little factoid. I'm like, wow, 54 years old walking across Africa? Okay, I would do that to say I did it. That sounds so lit. That is so dope. Oh my God. This is such a great story. I don't know where, like, I just randomly saw that video on Instagram. And I felt like it was just an important story because it's like, to me, this is an example of a creative at their finest, at its truest form, in its realest sense. This is what you look for at the pinnacle of creativity, a level of assuredness and of like refusal to accept what's in front of you, a refusal to let others' excuses be your downfall, a refusal to not see what you have planned through, like a refusal, like in every sense of the word. This man is the most stubborn man on the planet. He refuses to allow his will not to be met and to go through by any means necessary. It's the type of mentality that he has. This is like, oh my God, like, this is crazy. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna just keep tangenting at this point. But this is a cool story. Hopefully, like, there's a, like, I'm gonna try to keep track of this in some way. Because if he ever makes it across Africa, you best believe I'll be discussing it. This man is incredible. Wow. 54, he's about to go walk across Africa. I'm in my 20s. I don't know. Can I drop everything today and go walk across Africa? Do I have that? Am I like... I don't want to say I would or... I don't say I can or would or wouldn't. I don't know. But... Oh, that's good. Like, if anyone else... If you made it to this point, if you listened to me ramble about this man who walked for 22 years and stayed silent for 17 years... Dang, and they really reported on the fact that he stayed silent for 17 years as if it was the coolest thing that he did. Like, do you hear how much he's done? They were just like, yeah, so you stayed silent for 17 years, huh? That sounds hard. Like, that's the easiest thing he did. That's why he was looking at the lady like that. I'm realizing now in the beginning clip of why he was smiling at her like that, because he was like, this lady's so silly. Like, he probably spends most of his time just thinking everyone around him is just goofies. Like, oh my God, that's crazy. But yeah, if you made it to this end, to this point of listening to me ramble on about this man, let me know, would you walk across Africa? Do you think you could make it 17 years without talking? Would you even do a whole year without talking? Because I definitely don't see the rest, like me making it to old age and not at least doing 1 year of no talking. Y'all don't deserve to hear me. Right now, I'm in a place where I can't really. I need to talk. See, I'm making excuses, though. I know that's what John would tell me. I'm sure of it. But, I mean, yeah, like, if you have any opinion on that, please tell me if you made it to this far end point of the video. And if you also made it to this point of the video, what else do I want to say? Because you really a rider for listening to me this long. So I want to tell you I fuck with you. Make sure you're subscribed so you can keep listening to me. And yeah, I don't know. Attempting to get my attention. I don't like when you're acting too tempted. Relax, you don't need to be mentioned. You could be sent back at the entrance. I can tell you never seen a temptress. So cold, I decide what the temp is. I like when you talk cause you meant it. If I picked, I'm the one that I went with.